Well, here's a couple more pieces to the peace puzzle for the Middle East that I want to bring to you. One's coming out of the Jerusalem Post. It says, "Peace plan now. Deal of the century should be revealed before April's election." Now, frankly, I doubt that's going to happen, but this is what the article says. As Israelis and Palestinians have been waiting for the Trump administration's deal of the century peace plan since May of 2018. Now, President Donald Trump is saying he will unveil this plan only after the April 9 Israeli elections. However, there is a strong argument to be made that the peace plan should be shared immediately. The time politically is never ripe in the Middle East, says Gilead Shir, a former chief of staff to Prime Minister Ehud Barak and a senior Israeli peace negotiator. If the plan is ready, let's hear about it, without any calculations as to whether or not it is supportive of this or that party's agenda. Well, frankly, I don't believe they're going to, like I said, release this plan, because I don't believe it would be in Mr. Netanyahu's best interest before the results of this election are revealed. Now, there are some who believe that this might take the heat off of Mr. Netanyahu. Right now, he's under possible indictment of corruption charges in Israel, and some claim that that would take the limelight away from that. But frankly, I expect that plan to be unveiled sometime possibly in early May. Now, here's another story coming out of Israel National News, and the title is U.S. to recognize Israeli sovereignty over Golan Heights next week. Now, reports already come out in the New York Times indicating that's what the president should do and wants to do. So I have to believe that's going to be the next phase of the peace plan. What I mean by that is I mean that that's the next thing that the president's going to put to bed. That will no longer be on the table. And this is what the article says. The White House may be preparing to recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, says a senior Israeli official, suggesting that an announcement regarding recognition could come as early as next week. According to a report Thursday morning by Israel's Channel 13, senior Israeli officials believe the Trump administration is preparing to formally recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, ending a decades-long U.S. policy of non-recognition of Israel's annexation of the strategic plateau. The officials cited by the report say the U.S. could announce plans to recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan as early as next week, coinciding with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's meeting with President Donald Trump in Washington during the annual American-Israel Public Affairs Committee conference. Of course, the UN and all UN nations, along with the United States, have for years refused to recognize Israel's annexation of the Golan Heights, but that seems to be coming to an end. But that wouldn't be the report that I would key on. What I would key on is that it doesn't seem to be that anyone is protesting this possible move. And that's something that you should be very concerned about. Frankly, in the past, if Israel were to do something of this nature, or the United States were to do something of this nature, that condemnation from most of the Arab world and also the United Nations would be almost retroactive. But just as reported a couple of days ago, ExxonMobil is prepared to put a bid in on one of Israel's blocks for exploring oil. And as I said before, many believe that that could not possibly take place unless the Arab world okayed it ahead of time. And I have to believe that's the case here with this as well. As far as we can see, there are no protests for Israel to take possession of the Golan Heights and to call it their own. So I would certainly consider this a major step toward a regional peace, because many in the Arab world are now accepting Israel and allowing them to do things that I don't believe 10 years ago they would have allowed. Now, certainly no peace accord has been signed or okayed, but what we're looking at is after the April 9th Israeli elections, I do believe at some point in time, in late spring, early summer, that this is going to be unveiled. But I would certainly view this as something of a step towards peace, because of the fact that no one is trying to get the UN to condemn it, that no Arab nation has stepped up and tried to prevent this from happening. But I guess if it's going to be next week that they're going to announce it, we'll have to wait and see how and what the reaction is following this announcement. But you can bet if there is no open condemnation after this announcement, you can bet that that's a step forward, and that we are edging that much closer to a peace with many and a regional peace, just as the Bible stated back in Daniel 9:25-27. But certainly I would encourage you not to sleep on this announcement. This is a very important development, and I believe that the Trump administration would not do this unless they felt the time was right. Now, certainly they may have miscalculated the timing of recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital and moving their embassy to Jerusalem. But even though that did muster a little bit of conflict, it didn't sink the ship as others have tried to say it has. It's not going to shock me either if the Palestinians finally decide to come back to the table. I have a feeling there's a lot of good things that are going to come out of the revealing of this peace process. But we'll have to wait and see after April the 9th. And if you're counting, that's only 19 days away. And if you don't know the Lord, today is the day that you need to accept Him as Savior. You know, I give you guys these updates to let you know how close the day is coming, just like it says in Hebrews 10:25, that there will come a time when we will see the day coming. And I believe that we're living in that day. I believe that these steps that I am introducing to you are all a part of that time in which we will see the steps and the day coming. So if you're not a Christian at this time, I would encourage you to make that decision as soon as possible. And you that are Christians, you need to get a copy of my Tribulation Period Survival Guide. Time is running out for you as well. If you want your lost friends and loved ones to have a roadmap as to what's going to happen during the tribulation period and how they need to react, I would certainly recommend that you get a copy of my Tribulation Period Survival Guide, the paperback version. Hand it to them. Make sure they have this copy. Make sure that they're aware of this, so that even if they don't accept it or they throw it away or whatever the case is, they will know it's available. You know, I have given away my Tribulation Period Survival Guide to people and found out later that they threw the book away or gave it away or whatever the case may be. And they're not Christians, but I guarantee you once the rapture takes place, they will get that copy back, or they will buy a copy, or possibly might even download the free version. But you definitely need to let them know that it's out there. So I'd go down to the description section of this video, click on the link, and get your copy or copies today. Well, this is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.